Hello, everyone, and welcome to TLR Connect Ask Me Anything. TLR Connect is brought to you by TLR Now, Excellence Consultants. It's a peer mentoring, coaching, and training organization based out of Pune, India, with chapters in Bhutan, Oman, Sri Lanka, and expanding across the world. Today is our 45th episode, and I'm excited to bring to you Functional Nutrition with Mugdha Pradhan. My name is John Godoy. I'm a life performance coach based out of Chicago, Illinois, United States. And here we go. Mugdha, can you introduce us to yourself, please?
Yes, sure, John. It's so great to be here with you. So I am a functional nutritionist. I did my master's in nutrition in 2001, and I didn't really practice nutrition for very, very long. So I actually went into the corporate world, and by doing that, I completely lost track of what nutrition meant. I gained a lot of weight. I became 97 kgs, just 3 kgs short of 100. I developed an autoimmune condition called Hashimoto's. I had diabetes. I was really, really sick. So what I needed to do then is figure out how to fix my health. So I actually went to a few doctors asking for solutions. I was like, I couldn't get through the day without 8 cups of tea, and I was addicted to coffee. I was smoking up. So I was in a very bad shape. And what happened then, this was in 2016, I actually didn't find any answers. Like the doctors that I went to mostly said that, if it's just tea that's keeping you up, it's okay, you can have it, and really weird answers. So that's when I actually decided to unlearn everything I knew about nutrition and relearn what I needed to learn about functional nutrition. And that's when the journey began. So I, of course, lost 37 kgs, which I don't know how much it is in pounds, but I lost that weight. I reversed an autoimmune condition. I reversed my diabetes, so I'm no longer diabetic. And then I realized that it was pretty cool what I did for my health. And what happened was, as I was going through this transformation, my Facebook profile picture started changing, my Insta picture started changing. So the first people who came to me asking for help were my own friends and family, like, hey, whatever you're doing seems to be working, so can you help us? And, that's where my journey as a nutritionist who is helping other people with their health problems really began. So this was early 2017, late 2016, I think, where I started coaching other people with how they could start resolving their health issues with the power of functional nutrition. So that has been my journey. Somewhere along the line in 2018, I just felt like, just helping one person at a time wasn't enough, and I wanted to do something bigger. And there came this vision of healing 1 million people. So that's my the purpose of existence, that I want to really heal 1 million people on this planet. And through that, the company formed. I got funded. So Thrive was formally funded by a seed investor. Then we hired a team, and we have an office, and it's pretty great now what's happened. So that's my 41 years in a snapshot.
Wow, that's fantastic, Mugdha.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Your journey into functional nutrition came about from your own personal experience.
Yes.
And that's very powerful, because you know what it's like to be on both ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
You've known what it's like to be without the health that you wanted, and after the functional nutrition intervention, which you healed yourself, you developed the ability to feel what it feels like to feel great. That's fantastic. Yes. And so you came up with Thrive FNC, and
yes.
Thrive FNC is your functional nutrition business.
Yes, it is.
Excellent. So can you tell us a little bit about what functional nutrition is?
Sure. So this world of functional medicine and functional nutrition really evolved in the US somewhere around maybe 25 years ago. Some of the founders were conventional medicine doctors themselves, like Dr. Mark Hyman and Dr. Jeffrey Bland. And the reason why this offshoot of regular medicine evolved is, like, people ask me what's functional nutrition, and I say it's the opposite of dysfunctional nutrition. It actually works. But the reason why they decided to look at an alternative way of healing people, the people who founded functional medicine, was they saw that a lot of their patients came to them in acute conditions, right? So somebody who was diabetic for long would come at some point with kidney failure, and then they would need all these machines, they would need dialysis. So they saw that they were just prolonging life without necessarily prolonging the health span of somebody. So that's where the curiosity began, and that's where this field emerged, where they started asking the question that why is this happening? Why is somebody presenting to us with in a state where we need a machine for their kidneys to do the job that they're supposed to do? Or why is this person in a place where they can't digest their food well? Or why is this person in this place where they're so obese that even moving becomes a problem for them? So this asking this why is really what set them out to create this world of functional medicine, of which functional nutrition is one aspect. And when they began asking the why, then the next question was, when does this begin? So why is this happening and when did it begin? And then it was like, if we can catch that when at the right time, can we then reverse can we change the future of this person? So let's say we change the timeline. Let's say we find what's really triggering all these health issues and we stop it there. Will the future outcome of this person's health be different? So that's really the entire field. That's what the underlying premise of functional medicine or functional nutrition is to look for the root cause, right? So to look for what's really creating this problem instead of treating the symptoms. So if you get a headache, for example, you'll probably pop an aspirin or you'll just take a paracetamol and you'll suppress that headache. What we do is we ask the question, why is this person's head aching? Like, why is there a pain trigger that's happening? What's really creating that? It's the same with weight, right? So most people think, because they're not working out enough, they're gaining weight, when it's usually something to do with what's happening in the body that's creating weight as a symptom. So your body always uses every symptom as a feedback loop to tell you, hey, something's wrong. I'm showing you something, I'm showing you the symptom. Can you please take a look at it and fix it for me? So that's what the body is constantly trying to do. And what modern medicine does is it looks at that symptom. So it just shoots the messenger and the message together, right? Instead of looking for what is it that the body is really trying to tell us. So functional medicine, functional nutrition always looks for the root causes. In my own case, when I was 97 kgs, for example, and I was so tired and I was so dependent on stimulants, there were a lot of things happening internally. Like I had something called as insulin resistance, and I had this autoimmune condition. So these were the things that were creating all these external symptoms. And once I learned how to find this root cause, how to figure out what was really happening, I just had to work on that. I just had to resolve that root cause. I had to pull the weed out from the root, and then my health automatically started improving. And that's what happens when you start looking for root causes.
Well, that's a very powerful idea,
Yeah.
Mugdha, this concept of not looking at the symptom, which we tend to do,
Yes.
but rather going back in time or looking back into one's lifestyle and looking at the fundamental issue that's causing it all in the first place.
Right.
It's kind of, it makes me think about the example of a big ship approaching an iceberg. If you approach it, look at it, if you're right in front of the iceberg, it's very hard to change it, right? It's right there. But if you see it from quite a distance in the back, you're able to kind of avoid it much more effectively.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this question, Mugdha. For our listeners here, we have listeners from all over the world, and listeners and viewers, and they're going to be from all over the spectrum. Some are going to be parents, some are going to be professionals, some are going to be older, younger. What would you, if you were one of those listeners, what would you say that they would be able to gain from listening and from this AMA session? What could they potentially walk away with?
So what I would want everyone to learn from this discussion that we have is, having good health is not really a mystery. Like, it doesn't have to be some mysterious way to. It's very easy to figure out how to be in a state of good health, whether you're trying to lose weight or whether you're trying to have better digestion, or whether you're just aiming at having more energy through the day. It's really easy to do that if you find out what's preventing that from happening, right? So learning how to assess root causes, or learning that there is always a root cause for whatever symptom somebody is experiencing, is one thing that I'd like them to really, really understand. The second thing that, as we actually go through, and I'll probably share a little bit more about that, is, there can never be generic nutrition. Like what works for you, for example, John, in your environment where you live, with the availability of food, might not really work for me. So if I try to say, okay, berries are really good, but I don't get blueberries in India, right? So understanding that nutrition is extremely personalized. There is this aspect of bio-individuality, which means your genetic makeup and your environment plays a big role in how a particular food is going to work in your body. So understanding that is something that I would really want them to know, because what I've seen, and it's unfortunate because, there are these fads that come and go. There's some diet that just comes and everybody's talking about it. And people then just try to mimic that without really understanding what is it that their body needs, what's really happening in their body, what are their predispositions towards maybe some disease. And then things go wrong. So that's the second thing that I would really want people to learn. And I hope I can share as much about that as I can in this 1 hour. And the third thing, which is completely underestimated, is how important a community is in helping you stay on track with your health. Or even, if somebody is really sick, and having a community to support you in your healing journey. And this community aspect is my favorite, so we'll talk more about that as well. But I want people to know that healing is never a solo journey. Trying to reach your goals on your own can actually get really frustrating at times if you don't have people to kind of be there, support you, be your tribe, and share your journey with you. So those three things.
Interesting, Mugdha. Well, I'm definitely sure we'll touch on all of them, and the viewers will definitely learn quite a few things from you today. One question I have is, what is it that makes Thrive FNC very different from a lot of the other sources that are out there? And I remember we were talking a little bit earlier, and you've had some great success stories. I'd love to hear about a little bit about both, please.
Yes, for sure. So we've had many success stories, but I'll just tell you why Thrive is different, and maybe then we can go to the success stories. So see, looking for root causes is something that's the underlying premise of functional medicine and functional nutrition. So that somebody who's trained in that, somebody who studied that, they could do that. They could look at your blood test, they could use the same textbooks and the algorithms that we have, the software that we have, and then they could come to the same conclusions. But what we do at Thrive goes beyond that, because what I have understood with my own journey and with the journey of so many people who've partnered with us is that it's very easy for me to tell someone that don't eat this, like, hey, sugar is bad, don't eat sugar. But then the obvious question is, okay, I have a sweet tooth and I want to eat something that's sweet. Can you give me something? Give me an alternative, because at some point, out of sheer willpower, they might stay off sugar for maybe even 6 months. But then if they have a craving for something sweet, they're going to fall back to that, right? So what we do at Thrive is we actually work on uncreating past patterns that might have led to their health issues, and then we help them create better patterns. So it's not just about providing alternatives to food, but it's also about helping them create new identities itself through our coaching method. So we have this thing called Thrive in 3, which is an intensive coaching program. It's really engaging. It's real-time coaching. We're there for them all the time. I tell them it's like having a nutritionist in your pocket. If you have a mobile phone, you have your nutritionist with you. But what we do there is we really help people shift their identity itself. So let's say somebody who's trying to quit smoking, typically a person who's trying to quit smoking, and we've had people in the tribe who've given up smoking as well, right? So typically somebody's trying to quit smoking. If you offer them a cigarette, they'll be like, no, I'm trying to quit smoking, so don't offer me that. And that's got a limit. It's still got an outcome of them not smoking. But what if you created an identity for this person where this person would tell somebody who's offering a cigarette that, hey, no, I'm not a smoker, right? So it's a shift in the way they would look at something that was creating bad health for them. So we do that. Plus, we bring in this entire approach of holistic health. We look at all the factors that could be creating health problems, so sleep and all of that. We'll talk more about that. But we also have meditations, which are a large part of our healing program. I'm a big, big believer in meditation myself. I wake up at 4 every morning, so I don't miss on my meditation no matter what. And I've seen the kind of results it brings in life. So we bring in all of those components, and that is what differentiates, right? So instead of just giving somebody a diet chart and saying that follow this for a week and then come back and tell me how it went, we are right there with them, helping them through each challenge and obstacle on a day-to-day basis. So that's what really differentiates us. What we'll do is we'll listen to this lovely, lovely lady from the tribe. Her name is Surashri, and she'll tell you what it is to go through a program with tribe.
Hi, I'm Surashri Rahane, and I want to become a superhuman. And the first thing that I needed to fix was my health. Then I met the team at Thrive. They told me that the issue that I am facing is due to insulin resistance. So I did not have to starve myself, and I could actually eat filling meals and get all the nutrients and energy that I wanted. In the last 3 months, I have lost around 8 kgs and I feel much more energetic than ever.
Wow, that's a fantastic testimonial. What really stuck to me was the fact that she said she feels energetic, and that's such a profound aspect of health. Oftentimes when people are unhealthy or unwell, they just don't necessarily feel right, and what they want not so much is a change in the numbers, but they want a change in how they feel. So that's very powerful. Mugdha, let me ask you a question. There are going to be people who are going to go to a coach or an organization such as yourself to get the counseling and the help. However, there are going to be some who just perhaps don't have the access to it right now or the opportunity to. And so may I ask you, what are maybe a couple of questions, 2 or 3 questions that you might ask someone who comes into your clinic that will get their mind starting to think about root causes in their own life, so they go, oh, okay, that's a different way of thinking about things. That may help me come up with some ideas to get me started at least.
Okay. So, well, the first question I ask anyone who comes is, why do you even need my help? Like, why are you here? So, even before we go to the root causes, I want to make sure that they are certain about why they want to make this change, because making a lifestyle change takes some effort. Then when we actually start speaking about root causes, the first question there that I would ask is, when did this all begin? Was there a trigger? So for a lot of people, what I've seen is, they have deficiencies that are there, or they could have toxins that have built up over time, but it usually takes one trigger event to kind of upset the entire system and make them lose their balance. So for a lot of people, it's a stressful life event that's happened, or it could be an illness that happened, which then started that cascade, the entire waterfall of health issues surfacing. But that's the first question I asked: like, when did this begin? And then I go a little bit into their family's health history also, to understand what could be the predisposition that this person's genes might have. So let's say both parents had diabetes, then there's a very, very high chance of what Surashri mentioned in her testimonial of insulin resistance, which is the root cause of diabetes. There's a very high chance that this person has underlying diabetes. So when did things start going south is what I ask, because that starts making them think, okay, this is when life was okay and this happened, or I did this and I ate like this. For a lot of people, usually moving to another city for their job or changing their life situation, like moving from home and moving into a new work environment, is where things started changing, because they were ordering in a lot of food, or they were eating ready to make convenient food, right? Like just buying things off the shelf and eating that kind of food. So for a lot of people, that life event is what triggers their change in the state of their health. So when did it begin? If they could remember, what were the trigger factors when that began? And I ask about their family history. So we can start looking at if there's a pattern emerging there. So this is even before we do the blood test. But the best way to really assess root causes is by looking at blood work, because that's so objective. It's clear data, and I'm a little data obsessed. Everyone in Thrive is data obsessed. But, it takes away the subjectivity from it. It's like, was it in 2016? So that subjectivity goes away. And I get to see clearly what's really happening internally. So maybe they are deficient in iron and their hemoglobin is low. And I might get a little technical here. But the blood test is really what gives me a complete picture of what's happening in their body, whatever the symptoms might be, whatever those might be. If people really were curious about looking at what's happening to them, the best thing to do would be to just get some basic blood tests done and send them over to us and we'll take a look at them. But, you could just look at them and you could make out. So if they're out of ranges, you could still see that things were going wrong. That's what
It's interesting. It makes you think of, it makes me think about the concept of gut feel or gut instinct. And oftentimes that can be influenced by our emotions, and we don't necessarily see things rationally or as they are, but the numbers generally don't lie.
They never lie.
That's the power of it. Oh, okay. Mugdha, let me ask you this next question. It's actually a 3-part question, but they're all kind of interrelated. The question is, so I heard that India is the diabetes capital of the world. And I'm wondering if functional nutrition is something that can be used to help people with either type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And this is the third part. Do you have an example of someone you've kind of helped along the way deal with this? And what did you do from the moment they came in the door till they got out in the transformation? Would you mind sharing
Absolutely. that? Not an issue at all. So it's sad that India leads the world in diabetes, but I think it's, in fact, I'd done a live event on diabetes, and I actually unearthed data and research that showed that Indians are genetically predisposed to diabetes because compared to Caucasians, we have lesser muscle mass. Just our bodies are designed with lesser muscle mass. So when we eat the way most of us are across the world, like most of us are overeating, we are like overfed and undernourished. We don't get enough of the nutrients we need, but we eat more than what we need. So in Indian bodies, that automatically starts creating a lot of metabolic dysfunctions, and we are genetically predisposed towards diabetes. So I'll tell you Amit's story. I don't have his testimonial here, but so he was somebody. He came to us when he weighed nearly 105 kgs or so, and he was somebody who had tried every diet on this planet, at least the ones that he knew. So he tried keto, he tried intermittent fasting, with whatever limited knowledge that he knew of how to do it. And he wasn't really seeing results. He had chronic acid reflux. So he was on, these antacids for nearly 13 years. And the dose for that kept increasing. So he came to us for weight loss. He just said, I want to lose weight. I want to be at this number by the next year.
May I ask you how old he was, what type of profession?
He was 40. I mean, he's 43 now. So when he came to us, he was 42. And he's a stockbroker. So
stressful life.
Yeah, pretty stressful life. And what we found when we did his blood work, he didn't even know he had diabetes. So diabetes is like that. It's a silent killer. It's a silent disease. It can develop in your body for nearly 5 to 10 years before your blood sugar levels become that high that your doctor might diagnose you with diabetes. So we ran his blood test, and then that's what I speak of in the root cause analysis, right? Like it doesn't really matter to us with what symptom and what label you come to us for. We'll always get a blood work done first. So we found out he had diabetes. So again, then we looked for the root cause of diabetes, because diabetes is just another label. So we're like, why is his body triggered with diabetes? So both his parents were diabetic, and I mean, there was a genetic predisposition towards it, which is why whatever lifestyle choices he had made over time had led to that disease being there. So because he had diabetes, his body kept accumulating weight, and no matter which diet he did, he didn't really lose any weight. So what we did was one, primary reason why we develop this condition called insulin resistance, which is at the root of diabetes, is the amount of refined vegetable oils that most of us are eating. Because if you allow me to get a little technical here, so refined vegetable oils are very high in polyunsaturated fatty acids, which signal our fat cells to become larger and to absorb and store more fat, and that extra fat in your cells is what creates insulin resistance. So he had this condition. So what we did for him is, for his diabetes, we made sure that we took away all of these refined oils from his diet, so that insulin resistance started reversing. For his gut issues, which was his acid reflux and his IBS and all of that, we took away a lot of the foods that he was eating and that was creating inflammation. So he was extremely allergic to gluten, dairy didn't work for him at all. So we took away these foods, and that automatically started healing his gut because it was not getting triggered, it was not on fire anymore. And with taking away those refined vegetable oils, his insulin resistance started reversing. He also had a lot of deficiencies which had occurred because he was on these antacids and proton pump inhibitors for so long that his stomach's ability to absorb nutrients also was diminished. So we needed to give him a few supplements to fix a lot of his deficiencies. So it took time, but like today he's at 87 kgs, so he's lost nearly 17 kgs. His goal was I should be somewhere in the 90s. I don't want to be in 100, I want to be out of the hundreds and I want to be in the 90s.
Sure.
Yeah, but his diabetes is gone. He has no insulin resistance. He has no diabetes. He went off his antacids and his proton pump inhibitors in less than 2 months. So he doesn't need, he has no acid reflux anymore.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty phenomenal how beautifully the body responds once you start listening to the messages it's asking you to listen to. It's like it's dialing your phone and it's saying that, hey, this food isn't working for me. Look, I'm making extra acid to show you that it's not working for me. And then we just don't listen to that. The doctors kind of said, oh, acid, don't come up. I'm going to give you medicines to push it down, right? So it's phenomenal. I have seen this magic happen so many times that you just learn what is it that the body is trying to tell you, and then you respond to that, and the body will just be like, oh, finally somebody's listening to me.
Sure.
And let me just heal again.
Huh.
So, yeah.
It's interesting. As a listener, as an audience member, after what you just described, we feel your enthusiasm. We feel the power of what you're talking about, of his journey. But the one thing that kind of pops up for anybody who's ever tried any type of diet is we took away this, we took away that, we took away this. Yeah. And in our mind, we think, oh my goodness, this is going to be awful. I'm just going to have to deprive myself. Dieting is horrible. And that's what a lot of people think. And my question to you is, can someone make these types of changes and these transformations without depriving themselves and still eat some delicious food? And you had said that you had removed highly refined oils from this gentleman's diet. Did you replace them with anything? Could you tell us a little bit about some of the other steps that they were taking?
Yes, for sure. So that's how I described Thrive in the beginning, right? So it's very easy to tell someone don't eat refined oils, and the obvious question is, what do I eat then, right? Yeah. And in India especially, everything is about the taste, right? The food has to be tasty. It's got to have its masalas and spices and all of that. Sure. So what we do is we provide them with a whole lot of recipes and alternatives on how they can make. So for example, in Amit's case, when we took away refined oils, and we do this, the refined oil thing, we do it for a lot of people because, like I said, like you said, actually, India is the diabetes capital of the world. So we do get a lot of cases that have either been diagnosed with diabetes or have underlying diabetes when they come to us. So taking away refined oils is part of the process, but we teach them how to make really delicious food. In fact, let me just show you some pictures of food. So we have this community called the Thrive Tribe. These are pictures that people from the Thrive Tribe. So these are all our clients and our patients who made this amazing, amazing food. And you can just take a look at it and tell me if it looks like something that a person who's deprived would be making and eating. So let me just share that picture with you.
Excellent. Oh my. Those are definitely colorful. When I think deprivation, I think gray and black and dark, but this is definitely
No.
colorful. And
So we have everything, right? So we have cakes, we have desserts, we have like that's a birthday cake that we made for someone in the team. And then we have traditional foods, which is what people like the rotis and kulchas and naans and then rajma rice. And then we have an entire South Indian meal that someone made for, there was a South Indian festival sometime in April. And most of this, I've taken the most recent pictures because these are all lockdown foods. So these aren't even foods that were made pre-lockdown, right? So this is stuff that was made during lockdown with limited ingredients, with limited availability in India. So we have pizzas and then we have chaats and I'm sure these names would sound a little foreign to you, but for anybody who's an Indian in the audience, they would know what I'm talking about.
sure.
But eating healthy is never really boring. What I've seen is that the constraints that we offer often inspire people to become really creative because, that's why that asking the why is really important. Like, why do you even want our help? Why are you here at Thrive? And when they state that purpose themselves and they know why they're doing this. So we've seen amazing, amazing creativity with food when people just put their mind to it and start doing this work.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think this lockdown period, this COVID period, has given a lot of people the opportunity to kind of have a little bit more time to start making their own
Yes.
food, to becoming a little bit
Yes.
more aware of what they're putting in their body. And sometimes all we need is a little bit of direction. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I also think as human beings, we still want things done relatively quick and simply. And so
I agree.
would you say, are there any kind of staple foods that you feel would be healthy for anybody to kind of get, no matter what their condition is? I know you haven't had the opportunity to get their blood work or get a sense,
Sure.
but there are going to be some people out there going, well, I want to get started today. I want to make some changes today. What are maybe 3 or 5 things that I can incorporate into my daily eating habits that will help me? And
Mhm.
what are a few things that I can take out on top of the highly refined oils, which you mentioned?
Yes.
That will make me a little bit better.
Yes. So let's start with what you can take out because that's a short list, and then I'll talk about what you can add in because that's a much bigger list.
Yes. We love
so-
the add-in. We love the add-in.
Yeah. So we'll focus on the add, and we'll just quickly go over the takeouts. Sugar. So sugar, that's white sugar, and then in India a lot of people use jaggery thinking it's okay to use, but it still is quite refined. So sugar, processed sugar is something that I would take out from anyone's diet. Even if they are at super optimal health right now, sugar is something that should be out. The second thing, we've already spoken of refined oils. So in India especially, it's really a good idea to not use those because we are pre-programmed for diabetes genetically. The third thing that I have seen show a lot of so most people show really good results with this is when we take away gluten from the diet, when we take away wheat, because and there's a reason for this. I think the wheat that we eat now is really genetically modified. It's not the same wheat that our ancestors ate. So this one's designed to be drought resistant. It's designed to be pest resistant. It really inflames our GI tract, like the internals, right? So I've seen really good outcomes when people have taken wheat out of their diet. But that is it. Dairy depends on the person. Like, for example, when we spoke of Amit, he reacted pretty badly to dairy, but some people are okay with raw organic milk or even fermented dairy. So dairy really depends on the individual, but for the general population, I would say sugar, refined oil, and wheat. And of course, anything that comes in a packet, like processed food. So I used to say this, that if it grows on a plant, eat it. But if it comes from a plant, like if it's manufactured in a plant, don't eat it. Because yeah,
clever. That's
yeah.
clever.
So and there's a reason for that, right? Like if somebody was making a juice out of an orange and putting it in a Tetra Pak, the number of things that they would have to do to that orange to make a juice that is shelf stable, that's not going to spoil even after being on the shelf for a month. I can't even get into those processes. And then for them to make it taste like an orange again, they would have to add so many things. So it's really too many additives and preservatives that go into your processed food. So that's something that you should keep up. Now going to what you can add in, right?
Yes.
So yes,
We're
so
all
this is
ears.
what I like. So good quality, clean protein. So whether in India, beef is not so easily available, but if you're somebody who's a listener from outside, then beef is really, really great as a protein source. In India, lamb is something that I would recommend. Fish, if you know if it's fish that's not from toxic waters, if you know the source, if you know the quality of water, then fish is okay. So that's for your protein. For your carbohydrates, like a lot of people are afraid of carbs, but I don't see a reason to be afraid of carbs. Like I eat white rice most days. I really enjoy it because it really works well for my body. So you could eat good quality carbs that are coming from either some of your grains that you've kind of processed correctly to make sure there are no toxins in them, or you could even eat things like your squashes and pumpkins and sweet potatoes if you're not reacting to oxalates too much. So sometimes every food comes with a caveat, but you could eat your carbs like that as long as they're not processed and refined white flours. And then most vegetables are great if you want to add variety to your palate, if you want to bring in more color into your like visually vegetables are just so beautiful, right? So
Right.
you could just go for those. Fruits, so there are a few nutritionists who hold off fruits because of the fructose in them, but in the last 3 years of work we've done, we've never seen fruit really causing any health problems. What we've seen typically for diabetics, a lot of diabetics are afraid of fruits because they think they're really sweet and that they can worsen their diabetes. But what we've seen is it's really the refined oils and the polyunsaturated fatty acids that make diabetes worse. So fruits are generally okay. My recommendation with vegetables and fruits and grains is that look for organic sources as much as possible because you don't really want something that's sprayed with pesticides and chemicals. But you have like the entire, there's so much variety there. And then if somebody's a vegetarian and they're looking for protein, then they could eat, in India we get all these dals and people could make hummus, people could make beans. So people could eat that if their gut can digest those. So there's so much
Yeah.
to eat. Like in each category, I could rattle off like 20 more foods, right? But there's so much. So you just have to take off like 4 or 5 things, and then you have about 100 things that you could eat.
Sure. It sounded to me like the general theme of what you were saying was the more natural the state, the food, the better it is for you. I think that's a very straightforward, easy thing to remember. The less processed, the more natural and real it is, the healthier it is for you.
That's my mantra. If it's from a plant, eat it. I mean, if it grows on a plant, eat it. If it comes from, which was made in a plant, don't eat it. So it's that simple.
It is.
Yeah.
Mugdha, let me ask you this next question. And it's what we've been talking about right up until now has been very kind of nutrition that's important for life in general. But now we're currently in the midst of a pandemic. And because of COVID-19, a lot of us around the world are moving a lot less. Our energy requirements are going down. We're stuck inside. People are suffering with a lot more challenges physically and mentally. And the buzzword now also is immunity. They're saying, you hear specialists or people who, well, essentially specialists saying, your last line of defense is your immunity, right? So wear a mask and fight the immunity. How can functional nutrition help us with our immunity? And also, do we have to do anything different because we are moving less and because we're stuck inside and dealing with the pandemic?
Sure. So immunity has a couple of components in them. One is, does your body have the raw material it needs to create a really robust immune system? So that's one. Second is, do you have any underlying conditions that would be taxing your immune system to begin with, where if you're exposed to this new virus, everything is going to crash and burn? So with functional nutrition, the first part, which is like, does your body have enough raw material that it needs? So for example, to really have a good immune system, everybody knows vitamin C now. It's like vitamin C is out of stock on Amazon. But
Wow.
yeah, it is. Like, it's very hard to get your vitamin C supplement because it's almost always out of stock. So zinc, vitamin C, good quality protein, you need vitamin A. So all of these nutrients are what your body uses to create different aspects of your immune system. So whether it's the WBCs or whatever, so your body needs these nutrients. So when we look at somebody's blood test and when we see they're deficient in nutrients, then we of course recommend supplements until their body is able to absorb whatever it's needing from food. So that way, functional nutrition helps build up your immunity. Secondly, we take care of any of the underlying conditions, right? So there are a lot of reports around this, so much data around how people who have comorbidities like diabetes or hypertension or obesity are the ones who are the most susceptible to something like COVID-19. So when we work with functional nutrition, what we're doing is we're taking care of all of these comorbidities, right? So we're reversing diabetes, we're making sure your PP is normalized. Of course, with obesity, we're obviously helping your body lose weight. So that takes care of the reason why your body might be stressed to begin with before even the virus comes. So that helps build and make your immune system stronger. So for sure, functional nutrition helps with creating a more robust immune system. So I'll give you an example from the team itself, and in fact, the Thrive Tribe, the community of people that we have, right? Now, somebody from my team experienced flu-like symptoms. So she had a really congested throat and she had like a runny nose, and she was like, "Should I go get tested?" And we were like just wait and watch for a day because if you're taking your zinc and everything. So I'm not saying you wouldn't experience a particular symptom. There's a very high chance that all of us are going to get exposed to the virus because that's how herd immunity is built. But the question to ask is, when you get exposed to a particular pathogen, how does your body respond to it? So she recovered in 24 hours. And in 24 hours, she was symptom free. So that's how the body really, that's how a strong immune system responds to any pathogen that comes out from outside. Actually, for your question around movement, I've been talking to a lot of corporates in the last 1 week, and everyone's reporting the same problems. They're saying that their employees are reporting more aches and pains, that the back is hurting, their neck is hurting, because we haven't really designed our homes for a work from home situation for the long term, right? The other conditions that people are reporting from just being cooped up at home is, especially in the corporate scenario, is that they're experiencing a lot of mental health issues. Because what's happening is, when you're at work together with people, you get a chance to just talk about stuff, to vent whatever's going on. Maybe some clients really mean and you want to just discuss that with your team. And you do that while you're maybe just around the water pool or something like that. Now what's happening with COVID is everything is on Zoom, everything is on Google Meets. So people just interact on a very specific purpose. And then nobody's really setting up a Zoom meeting for, oh, let's just gossip about that client, right? So nobody's doing that. So they don't get an opportunity to discuss that, to form those kind of work bonds. Personal life and work life is completely blurred. So there are just no boundaries around any of those. And it's getting pretty messy. But you work with corporates a lot too, John. How has it been there with the COVID, and in your work itself, what have you seen happening? I mean, I'm asking you a question now,
Oh,
but
sure.
I'm really curious because this is what I'm seeing in India.
I would say that humans are humans everywhere around the world, and you're experiencing there, we're experiencing the exact same thing here. People are suffering from a lot of mental challenges, the stress of being inside, the stress of inactivity, the stress of fear, sleep patterns being distorted, fear of going to and it all kind of focuses around fear of going to the grocery store to get the right foods, or emotional eating. And so there are a lot of variables that are affecting making what we all, to a degree, know are the right decisions. But they prevent us from doing so.
Right.
And I think we here in the West, we're kind of approaching it from a little bit more of a lenient perspective. We have, this is what we would ideally do in a perfect situation. We get a lot of exercise, we sleep. But right now, let's kind of accept living day by day and just doing the best we can to get through. Because everybody is just trying to get through this period of time. I think that kind of answered your question. We're just kind of going through the exact same thing.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting, and I don't think there's ever been a time in history when the entire world went through something like this. Like all of humanity is going through the same thing right now. I don't think this has ever happened in the past. So it's really interesting, and I want to see how we come out of this. Right? Like, do we become stronger as a species? Do we find new ways to work and live? And now a lot of our older structures are just gone. So how do we create a life that's different from before?
Well, it's interesting. I'm going to segue off of what you just said. I'm a big proponent of getting stronger, but I'm not talking about necessarily physically stronger. I believe that the human body starts breaking down faster than it builds up from the time you're 25. And it's all about strengthening yourself in all aspects. And we were talking earlier about how functional nutrition and your approach isn't just about nutrition. You look at other aspects. You look at perhaps their lifestyle habits, like their sleeping, their exercise. What are some other things that our listeners and our viewers can kind of think about and focus on that? Okay, they may take a couple steps in terms of their nutrition, but what are some other things that they can focus on that will help them feel better and just help thrive during this period of time to become stronger?
Right. So sleep, I think, would be something that everyone should really look at and improve, because sleep is one of the most restorative, regenerative processes. It really allows your brain to kind of defrag, like, during the entire process. And most people aren't getting enough sleep, or they're not getting enough good quality sleep. Like, everyone's doing Netflix and chill, and it's really impacting how their day the next day turns out to be. So sleep, and for me it's easy to say sleep better, but we do have a article on Thrive's website where we talk of how to sleep better. But what I would ask, and I would urge most listeners to do, is just at least start trying to go to bed at the same time every night, so that you can wake up at the same time every morning, and you are kind of a little refreshed. The other thing that I've seen really helps with sleep is if you don't have any caffeine after 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It really helps people reset and like sleep along with the natural cycles of nature. So sleep is the first thing that I would want everyone to focus on, apart from food. The second thing is movement. You spoke about movement as well, and most people are now just sitting in one place, sitting in one chair. They aren't even moving enough, and our bodies are designed to move. If not, we would be trees with roots in the ground. So our bodies, we have limbs that move. I move a lot, but we are designed to move. So what we do within the team at Thrive, what I do personally, I usually stand and work. I don't sit for the day. I have a standing desk, and I make sure I move all the time. So even if I sit for an hour, after an hour, I'll go stretch a little bit. That's what even the team at Thrive does. That's what we do for the people who come to us for the 3-month program. We get them into a habit of moving every hour at least, with just some simple stretches. But movement and sleep and food, these are the 3 pillars that would hold your health in place. If you just have to start, like, these are the basics, right? Like, just food, good sleep, and movement in the day. Just this much. And then hydration, drinking enough water. I mean, the list is endless, but
Well, that's very powerful. That's, it just shows the importance of having a balanced approach to your health and wellness. As we're getting closer towards the end here, I want to make sure that I ask you one more important question, and then follow up in the end with a key message that you want our listeners and our viewers to take away. So the last quick question I would like to ask you is about this concept of community health or community approach. You had mentioned that this is a crucial component of being healthy. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
So this is what I love best about what I do, because when I went through my healing journey, John, I was alone. Like, I went to different doctors, I couldn't find answers, and then I had to look for this knowledge. And there would be times when I'd be like, really, like, why am I even doing this, right? There was just nobody to talk to about it as well. I was just learning online, I was reading books, and I was trying to do things for myself. Something worked, something didn't work. And then I realized how important it is for anybody who starts working on their health to have a supportive community, like just to have people around them. And what happens for a lot of people who come to us, the changes that they make, they're the ones making them for themselves. Usually other people in the family aren't really doing that. So they feel like outliers, right? So they feel like they are the ones who are doing something different. But what we've managed to do at Thrive over the last 3 years is we've created this community called the Thrive Tribe. So I have people who started with me in late 2016 who are still in the Thrive Tribe. So they're like veterans of the health journey, right? So we do have a community group. So anybody who comes on board gets added to that. And that's the place where a lot of resources are exchanged, a lot of knowledge is exchanged. People share recipes. So if somebody from, let's say, Delhi comes on board, I'm in Pune, and then they're looking for organic vendors in Delhi. So they just ask in the community, and then somebody who like one of the veterans from the tribe will just say, okay, go here and you'll just get your organic stuff there, right? So it's a great, great place for all these like-minded people to be in. And what a lot of people have told me is after they finish the 3-month program, because during those 3 months, we're tracking the progress daily, we're checking their trackers every day, we are giving them feedback on a daily basis. After 3 months, nobody's really coaching them, right? So what works for them is being part of this community, because that's so inspiring. So somebody shares a story, somebody shares a recipe, somebody shares how the family is now eating healthier. And then you as a person don't, you just want to meet that standard. You want to be where the community is. So I've seen that most people are able to sustain the good health that they find in these 3 months long after the coaching is over, because this community is there, and that just creates. They say your vibe attracts your tribe, right? I think this tribe creates a vibe. So
Wow.
that's what's really helped a lot of people stay on the journey. And then we do community events. So now with the lockdowns, we aren't really doing food meetups, but we do Zoom sessions where we just answer questions. So let's say we discover something new, then we want to share it with everyone. So we do one-on-one sessions with people. We do group sessions with people. I'm in fact planning a 50-kilometer trail walk challenge in December with the community. So with the tribe itself. So it's pretty phenomenal what the support of a loving, caring tribe can do to you when you are on your healing journey. I really love that. In fact, I wanted to share another testimonial. This one is Pratishta, and she is one of our top community contributors, and she has seen phenomenal success with her own healing journey. So let me just share Pratishta's story with you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Hi guys, I'm Pratishtha Khan. I joined Thrive sometime last year. Mugdha reassured me that with a proper diet, I would be back on track. With the Thrive protocol, I have received day-to-day guidance. I have received invaluable insights and information regarding wellness and health. I can not only just follow the protocol but devise my own tools for a lifetime of health and well-being. Thrive has given me this completely new lifestyle which can help me achieve so much more than I ever thought possible. I feel a lot of energy. I feel this newfound enthusiasm for life. Thank you, Thrive.
Yeah.
Wow. She said it. She said it as well. I feel this newfound energy. I feel this joy for life. That's
And
incredible.
you can hear it in her voice, right? She's like giggling like a schoolgirl when she's talking. So she's amazing with food.
Wow.
She's like she's pretty great.
Mugdha, let me ask you this one last question, and this is for our viewers. What is the one message that you want our viewers to just remember after spending time with us here today, and perhaps 2 or 3 just action items that they can start doing right now, today,
Sure.
to enhance their health through functional nutrition?
So the one takeaway, look for my number and call me and I can help you. but on a more serious note, what I tell most people is that this body is a gift, and you could live in different houses, you could have different cars, you could live in different countries and different cities, but you go where your body goes. You can't really live outside of your body. So it's the only place, it's the only thing that's really with you as long as you're alive. So you need to learn how to take care of it. It's a beautiful system that's waiting for you to partner with it, right? So a lot of people dissociate from their bodies. They don't understand what the body is trying to tell them. So take care of your body. It's the only thing that's with you until you die. Like nothing else is permanent apart from this body. As long as you're on this planet, in this realm, whatever you want to call it. That's the one thing that I really want people to absorb and assimilate and put it in their minds.
And 2 or 3 takeaway items that they can do right now, like buy this type of food, stop doing this, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, so switch to organic as soon as you can. Avoid eating food that's been sprayed with pesticides and fertilizers, because that just adds a toxic burden to your body. So switch to organic food. Cut out anything that comes from a packet. It's really not good for your body. I mean, it's easy for me to say. It's easier for me to practice because I've been doing this for long. I know for somebody, they might be like, what? Can't I eat my biscuits? But if you had to just take that one piece of advice from me, just cut out all the processed foods. Your body will thank you for it. And if at all you want to go deeper, then get your blood work done and, start, just listen to what your body is trying to tell you. Or maybe you could just pay attention to your symptoms and maybe just tonight as you go to bed or tomorrow, just write down everything that happened in your body. If you could just start listening to your body, that when I woke up, I felt low on energy, or when I woke up, I felt high on energy. So maybe you could just do a body diary and just write that down. That's the easiest thing you can do. You can just take a piece of paper and write down everything your body tried to tell you through the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mugdha, how can people find out more about you and contact you if they're ready when they're ready to take their next step?
Yeah. When somebody asks me when should I actually do my diet, I'll be like right now, today, because no other time. But the website is thrivefnc.com. It's right there on the screen. So visit the website. Our contact numbers are right there. You could even book a consultation, because we do consultations for a really throwaway price, because we are also curious about people. Sometimes we get such random cases that no doctors have been able to solve, and we're so happy to work on those mystery cases. But go to the website. You could just book a consultation. That's at just 500 rupees, and we can help you out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mugdha.
Thank you, John. It was such a pleasure just talking to you, and you asked such amazing questions. So thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. With that, everyone, that concludes the 45th episode of TLR Connect, Ask Me Anything. Stay tuned for our 58th episode coming up in about 13 episodes, where we're going to have a fantastic surprise for you. Have a wonderful day.